Very exciting times we live at during. Um, I will watch Fox News in spite of my profound hatred for the network, and I hate CNN and I hate MSNBC. Um, I hate Fox News for the various and obvious reasons. Fox News is the propaganda arm of the Republican Party, and whatever the Republican National Committee and the Donald Trump administration and the military industrial complex and the establishment wants is all naturally embryonic and in cahoots with Fox News. And Fox News claims to be fair and balanced. Uh, Even the Democrats during Democratic primaries, even CNN and MSNBC try to put a veneer of being impartial. But when you watch Republican presidential primaries on Fox News, they are naturally very much part of the process, as if Fox News and the Republican Party are one and the same entity. And they have a stake in it when they do their commentaries, and they tell you which side they're on. Um, Not so much with the CNN and MSNBC. So, false liberal media, the media and all that liberal, whatever that terms could mean in the year 2020. But the thing about it is, and I would insist that not everybody on the left has the same positions and same, hold the same positions and or hold the same angle as they see the world. The left has various schools. I mean, there are people who are liberal, there are people who are more radical than liberal, and where I fall under, I'm a social democrat. Then you have your various socialists, and I guess I'm considered a well, I am a socialist in the sense that I'm a social democrat because I think they're one and the same. I'll have people from the hard left tell me that I'm not really much of a socialist, and that used to bother me, but it doesn't anymore. I believe what I believe, and you can take it for what it's worth. And if you don't like what I have to say, well, you don't have to agree with me. Life goes on. But the right also has various ideological factions, and that's where I am putting the meat and potatoes in this particular commentary. Just the other day, and today is the 23rd of July, soon to be the 24th. Just a few days ago, Tucker Carlson, whose program is on 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, um, does his commentary, and frankly, with Tucker Carlson, he's hit and miss. I largely disapprove of Tucker Carlson as a general rule. I mean, most of the time, when he's when he's doing his being a sycophant for Donald Trump, and he's bashing bashing the radical left and scared of brown people taking over the country. Um, that's the part of Tucker Carlson I detest the most. In that regard, he's another Fox News um, jerk. But occasionally, their saying goes that a stop clock gets the right time a day. And occasionally, he will be a little more correct than some of the people on Fox News. And I have to admit that when he is correct, sometimes he's even more correct than some of the liberals out there. Um, Amazon will be one area where he is that way. But I will go and tell you where he was correct the first time round. While the rest of the conservative movement during the Bush Cheney years were lockstep behind the Iraq War, he was one of the first conservatives to part company and become critical of the war in Iraq and the occupation and acknowledge it as such as a mistake. Little by little, some of the other conservatives came following along. Um, and so the next time, all you progressives get a little bit, you're dispirited by all the right wing attacks. Just remember, we're ultimately proved to be correct on things at the end of the day. We may not have national health care in the year 2020 yet, but once we get national health care, as that day comes, 25, 30 years later, the conservatives will tell us we were correct all along. Same thing. I mean, Martin Luther King was considered a hardcore, radical Marxist um, troublemaker in the 1960s by many in the conservative establishment. And by the 1980s, 1990s, many conservatives claim to sing the praises of Martin Luther King. The old sayings, you can't beat them, join them. So that's where I'm standing. This is where I actually agree with Tucker Carlson. And I do not praise the man in any way, shape, or form, but he's correct on this. Apparently, Jeff Bezos made $13 billion in one day. And the fact that, and it's true, Jeff Bezos is largely one of the Democrats' own. I mean, he's socially progressive, and by socially progressive means that he doesn't hate brown people. He's cool with the gays and the lesbians. He doesn't think that a Muslim walking around is going to behead you and make you submit to Sharia law. He's culturally woke. Beautiful, beautiful. That's cool. But the man's going to become a trillionaire by the year 2024. It is speculated he will be the world's first trillionaire. And somebody to have that kind of economic influence and power makes them dangerous. He's basically a socially woke Lex Luthor. If Lex Luthor was or he's basically Dr. Evil with the touchy, feel good vibes of Austin Powers. That is Jeff Bezos in a nutshell. And as I said, great. He's a social liberal. Wonderful. Wonderful. But that doesn't mean a whole lot when some of these issues are subtle issues. If your workplace doesn't have a union and you're treating your employees like absolute scum, do you think I should give a damn that you personally don't care if two dudes get married or not? And no, I'm not being the negative stereotype of what a class reductionist is that's playing neutrality on social issues. Don't even try it. I'm 51 years old. I'm an ugly straight man that was favoring gay marriage long before the other liberals were getting in favor of it. And even to tell you the truth, I was in favor of gay marriage so early on that even some of the gays and lesbians looked at me odd, like, our community needs to get married. I never thought of that. So don't even try. And I'm getting long-winded here. But he did a very excellent commentary against the abusive wealth and power of someone like Jeff Bezos. Objectively speaking. And as he was ending his show, and who was he talking to? Chadwick Moore. I don't know who he is. Who was giving your typical Republican propaganda talking points of law and order and trying to make it so that the Republicans were out in the interest of the common man, while the Democrats are the party of the billionaires and elites. And it is true, the Democratic Party is the party of the billionaires and elites. I've often said Democratic Party is pretty much garbage. They defend the wealthy, They defend Wall Street regulations. They're beholden to the military industrial complex, and they're beholden to the abusive insurance companies. But the Republicans are always going to be triple, quadruple times worse on those questions than the Democrats, because we have a two-party system. So you got the Democrats, which is pretty much a party filled with people who would be Tories in the UK, Christian Democrats in Germany, Union for Popular Majority in France, which all three of those parties are your center right conservative parties. And then you got a small portion of the party, the Democratic Party, who would be affiliated with various social democratic parties in Sweden and Germany and Denmark, be affiliated with the various labor parties in the UK, in Norway, and places like that, or the Socialist Party in places like France or in Spain or in Italy. So my point I'm trying to make is those who are self-described labor rights, socialists, or social democrats in the United States that happen to have the politics of those that would be aligned with labor, social democratic, and labor parties throughout the world. You will find those people in the Democratic Party who will say the Democratic Party ain't perfect, but is probably the most realistic place to get these ideas pushed through and implemented. This was so when Tucker Carlson finished his commentary bashing Jeff Bezos and Jeff bashing Amazon for the way they are and everything, and he kind of led up to Hannity, which the Sean Hannity show comes on after Tucker Carlson. Sean Hannity did his little blue nosing to corporate power with this kind of outdated kind of thinking of what do you have? Something against success? You got something against rich people? You know, that whole mentality that you don't get a job from a poor man. Never heard of a poor man hiring somebody. That attitude. That's what you got. You got that kind of stupid talking points from Sean Hannity. The 1980s, 1990s, up to pre-Obama era, up to the days of George W. Bush, you had that mindset that Sean Hannity is still under. Now, here's the thing. And Kyle Kalinske said it best on his show that Tucker Carlson is a sophisticated propagandist. That is correct. He's correct on bashing Amazon. He may even be correct to bash the Democratic Party, but he is wrong to think that the actual left are not in the interest of working people, and somehow people on the right and Trump are out there looking on behalf of the common man. I mean, now I would disagree with Carl Kalinske. I kind of do think that Tucker Carlson might actually have some legitimate concern about the common people being a paleo-conservative. And I'm not a conservative in any way, shape, or form, but I would say, with at least with paleo-conservatives, their critique against foreign intervention and their protectionist posture on the economy and their critique on corporate power that you don't really find too much in the Republican Party, that is to be commended. I would say with people like of that mindset within the Republican Party who are paleo-conservatives, the job of the left is to convince them that the Republican Party is not the place to put your hopes in and all that. If you're concerned about the common man and woman, you're concerned about jobs leaving this country, going to the third world where there's cheaper labor at the expense of the American worker, you're concerned about corporate abuse, the populist left is your only bet, and you're best to put all your eggs in one basket, and that is to support the Bernie Sanders movement, and people who think along the lines of Bernie Sanders. And no, Bernie Sanders is not a 90-year-old social justice warrior. Bernie Sanders is not out there to take your guns away. Bernie Sanders is not out there to silence you. Bernie Sanders is not out there to do any of these things. But Bernie Sanders is out there to try to convince this country to become a normal functioning democracy, to be like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, where 70, 80, 90% of the workforce is unionized, where single payer, Medicare for all, free medical care is available to every man, woman, and child from the day you're born to the day you die, where you have a generous pension system. When you retire, you can live comfortably in dignity. And while you are working in your 25, 30, 35, 40 years in your career and your job, you get to spend quality time with your loved ones, meaning that you get as little as 4 or 5 weeks off a year, or as many as 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks off a year. How in the world Americans can look at that and think that's terrible? The American dream doesn't exist in the United States anymore. The American dream continues to exist in Denmark, in Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland, dare I say Canada. And for the simple fact that the UK has a national health service. And for all you American conservatives who thinks, ew, socialized medicine don't work. It don't work because Rush Limbaugh tell me socialized medicine don't work. Well, why don't you ask the current Prime Minister of Great Britain, Boris Johnson, who had COVID this year? Granted, if I was a British person, I would never have voted. I lived in London. I would have never voted for him for mayor. I lived in the UK and whatever constituency. I would never vote for the Conservative Party, meaning that I would never want to have Boris Johnson as my prime minister. Having that said, while I am critical of Boris Johnson in many areas politically, Boris Johnson had the common sense to realize what good the National Health Service is. And he said that the National Health Service saved his life when he experienced COVID. When he experienced COVID, he fully recovered. And he said he had remarkable service, the National Health Service, that the National Health Service saved his life. He is a conservative. He is a successor to Margaret Thatcher, who, in my opinion, Britain never needed. You know, Thatcher was Britain's Ronald Reagan. One can argue that Boris Johnson is Britain's Donald Trump. The difference is, at least as horrible as the policies of Thatcher in the 80s and Boris Johnson today, unlike Reagan, unlike Trump, they support the idea of free medical care for all their people. Why can't conservatives do that here? Hell, even a lot of liberals are less progressive on healthcare than Boris Johnson today and Margaret Thatcher in the 1980s. That shows you how stupid our Overton window is in the United States. It leans rightward. And what we need to do is to get that Overton window to lean leftward. But, at least maybe the paleocons in the United States, they will probably be the first group of conservatives that will say, maybe Medicare for all is what we need in this country. It certainly will solve a lot of problems. It is Americanism. It looks out for Americans. Unlike the Republican establishment, who will decry against Medicare for all, acting like, oh, if we have Medicare for all, only the illegal aliens are going to get Medicare for all, not the rest of Americans. What dumb logic and talking points and straw man that is. Even Mexico is trying to create a national healthcare system. So, and we'll see how that turns out. But the point I'm trying to make is Sean Hannity is a relic of the past. And, and Tucker Carlson, for better or for worse, at least he gets it when it comes to to this abusive nature of Amazon. This is just not restricted to Amazon. Other entities out there are pretty bad too. Um, Walmart is an abusive corporation. I mean, for it's been abusive for years. And the thing about it is, Walmart and Amazon and some other bigger companies that have been abusive to their employees um, raised their wages recently. You want to know why? Even though it didn't pass in Congress, the Stop Bezos Act, which was introduced into the U.S. House by Ro Khanna of California and in the Senate by Bernie Sanders from Vermont. Basically, even though it didn't pass, that piece of legislation shamed, shamed, shamed these big companies because they know that if they want to keep making money, they got to put up a veneer of family friendliness, and that means raising wages for your workers. So I guess you could say, in a way, Amazon and Walmart became less shitty. And what an opportunity we missed in America not having Bernie Sanders to choose from in the year 2020. I often said this when Bernie Sanders was riding high earlier this year in the 2020 primaries. And damn, Bernie Sanders is not even president yet, and he's raising the wages of American workers. And for those who are critical of Bernie Sanders, just remember that we could have had our greatest president to be yet with Bernie Sanders. All you Republican types, you're scared of socialism, which is normal in Western Europe. And all you corporate Democrats who likes the Democratic Party being diet Republicans, you blew it. You blew it. Suffice to say, we got to do something about Amazon and their abusive nature. Walmart, the insurance companies, big pharma, big oil. I'm not opposed to the idea of big companies existing in general, even as a socialist. I like the idea of making it so that the average man and woman can have a slice of the American pie and have a slice of the American dream. Be part of that American dream from yesteryear, to bring that back. That this feudalism that we're going through today, this new capitalism, which is actually uglier than the old, that we need to go and put a stop to that. If you like this video, hit like. If you like what I have to say in general, hit subscribe. Please feel free to comment on this matter. Remember, we got algorithm problems, so because we have algorithm problems, I'm urging you to like, share, and comment because alternative media needs to exist. And this is not about me, but it's about what I think makes this country functions best, and that is social democracy. And remember, right now you have an opportunity. If you have an account on YouTube or whatever other social media, use it, and use it with the express purpose of getting your voice heard. I'm Bernie Bro. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk soon.